Peacock is set to be removing moments of WWE history as the network makes its transition from the online platform that WWE had over to Peacock. This is from The Hollywood Reporter. According to sources familiar with the situation, the NBC Universal-owned streaming service is reviewing all 17,000 hours of WWE content to ensure it aligns with Peacock standards and practices. WWE is also being made aware of any edits. It goes on to say that one of the alterations has been to 1990's WrestleMania 6, which featured a match between Roddy Piper and Bad News Brown that included Piper, a white wrestler, painting half his face black while facing off against Brown, a black wrestler. Another moment that was removed from the network was from 2005 Survivor Series event where Vince McMahon went up to John Cena and very casually said the N-word, which is insane to think back to, but that's wrestling. So as we know, wrestling, and especially the Attitude Era, it was not the most PC thing to watch or to see on TV. And a lot of the storylines were very mature, and looking back, a lot of them rather, probably don't have much of a place in 2021. Now, this is where the conversation starts though. Are we okay with Peacock deciding what can be wiped out of history and what can't be? Are we okay with moments from what many consider to be a TV show being wiped out because of sensitivity issues or because of Peacock's own standards and practices? And that's the conversation that's been going on between many wrestling fans online and many people on Twitter and even amongst just casual wrestling circles. So there is, I think, a point to this was going to happen. I think this type of thing, as long as it's going to be out of WWE's hands. When the second we found out that Peacock was going to have their hands on the library, they were going to have their hands on the network, we should have expected that there were going to be moments that were going to be taken out. There were going to be moments that were going to be deleted. And part of it has to do with the fact that some moments, like I mentioned, Vince McMahon very casually using the N-word, a white man, not a good look, for being honest. Other moments like the Bad News Brown Roddy Piper match at WrestleMania 6. That also brings up a lot of racial undertones that happened in that match, and overtones actually. He painted half his face black. But I think the question is though, for Peacock and for fans as well, is what is WWE? Because here's the thing. There's been a lot of obscene, terrible stuff on TV throughout history, right? But are we going to be looking at every single TV show that has had anything mildly or even overtly offensive and remove that moment in that TV show? And that's the thing. That's why wrestling, I think, is in such a weird place, because wrestling is kind of always blurred the lines between reality and fiction. And when you do that, you open this type of Pandora's box, I think, because I think the way that NBC would handle, maybe censoring, like a show like Breaking Bad, or off my head, Breaking Bad, rather than WWE would obviously be different, because Breaking Bad is 100% complete fiction. We know it's fiction, it's accepted. But wrestling, it's weird because it presents itself as, real. It presents itself as sports-based. It presents itself as, these wrestlers living their real lives. And like I said, even on the network, the lines are so blurred, it's hard to tell. Unless you've been watching wrestling for a long time, right? I mean, it's weird. It's a weird situation to be in, I think. And I think WWE could kind of pass it off better when they had the network in their hands, because it was their baby. They're just saying, well, this is our history. This is the history of wrestling. WWE is a TV show. And WWE's always kind of been adamant about that in public, that they are a TV show. They make movies, pal. That type of thing. But Peacock is kind of, spinning this around and being like, okay, yeah, you're a TV show, but you've also got too many elements of reality for us to completely just excuse every, you know, terrible or distasteful thing in your history. And, like I said, there's 17,000 hours. My first impression, though, I'm not going to lie to you, is if they're going to take out all moments in WWE's history that are offensive or, or bring up these types of topics, I don't know how much is going to be left, because if you watch the Attitude Era into the Ruthless Aggression Era, especially, there were a lot of moments that were just cringe to watch back, but also you just think about it and you're like, that would never make TV these days. And Peacock's going to be in charge of that decision. And how they handle it, I think, is also going to affect how people perceive the new platform of the network. Mike Steparini from, I think I just botched his name, sorry, from Wrestling Observer actually mentioned one idea that maybe they'll have a $29.99 per month kind of add-on or an additional add-on for the Peacock platform that would include the uncensored version of the Vault. And while that idea, I get why people would think that, I don't see that coming to fruition, because I think Peacock and NBC, they're gonna play it off as, they're gonna be adamant about some of this stuff being on. They don't want to be associated with blackface. They don't want to be associated with, white people casually saying the N-word in front of, Booker T and John Cena. And, I look, I don't blame them. But I do think, it brings up an interesting conversation of, is WWE a TV show or is it something more? And if it's something more, what is it? How do we define it? And I don't know where I don't know where we all stand on that, but NBC, I think, has made up their mind that it's leaning a little more into the reality based rather than it's completely fiction.